The Good Morning America studio buzzed with electric anticipation as Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, stepped onto the set, her poised smile masking the weight of a rare high-stakes appearance. Dressed in a sleek white blazer, she radiated confidence, ready to promote her new Archewell Foundation initiative aimed at empowering women through storytelling. George Stephanopoulos, the seasoned anchor known for his probing questions, greeted her warmly, the audience clapping enthusiastically as she settled into her seat. The interview began on a cordial note, with Meghan sharing heartfelt stories about her work, her children, and her journey since stepping back from royal duties. Her passion for mental health advocacy and gender equity shone through, drawing nods from the live audience. George, with his measured tone, asked about her transition to life in Montecito, and Meghan responded with charm, weaving in anecdotes about baking with Archie and Lilibet. But the atmosphere shifted as George steered the conversation toward more sensitive terrain, touching on her strained ties with the British royal family and the media's relentless scrutiny. The audience sensed the pivot, their murmurs growing as Meghan's smile tightened, her hands clasping slightly in her lap. Then came the spark that ignited the firestorm. George, leaning forward with a journalistic glint, referenced a recent UK tabloid claim that Meghan had orchestrated Prince Harry's public criticisms of the monarchy, painting her as the driving force behind their royal exit. "Meghan, some say you've been the one calling the shots, pushing Harry to take on the palace. How do you respond to the narrative?" he asked, his tone neutral but pointed. The question hit like a thunderbolt, the audience gasping softly, a few whispering to their neighbors. Meghan's eyes narrowed, her voice steady but edged with steel. "George, that's a tired rope, and it's frankly disrespectful to both Harry and me. We made our choices together, for our family's peace." The crowd murmured, some clapping in support, others stunned by the tension. George, undeterred, pressed further, citing a recent poll that suggested Americans were divided on her influence. "Does it bother you that people see you as the one wearing the crown in this partnership?" he asked, a faint smile playing on his lips. Meghan's composure cracked, her voice rising slightly. "That's not journalism, Georgia, that's perpetuating gossip. I'm here to talk about my work, not to be boxed into someone else's story." The studio fell silent, the air thick with unease, as George tried to pivot with a lighter question, but Meghan's frustration was palpable, her posture rigid as she gripped the armrest. The clash escalated when George, perhaps aiming to keep the interview dynamic, doubled down with a question about her recent Netflix documentary, which some critics had called self-serving. "Meghan, do you worry that projects like this fuel the perception that you're capitalizing on your royal past?" he asked, his tone probing but tinged with challenge. The audience held its breath, sensing the line had been crossed. Meghan's face darkened, her hands unclenching as she leaned forward. "George, you're doing exactly what the tabloids do, twisting everything into a narrative of greed or manipulation. I am building something meaningful, and I won't apologize for it." Her words, sharp and unyielding, drew a mix of gasps and applause from the crowd. George, caught off guard by her intensity, tried to diffuse with a chuckle, saying, "Well, you're certainly not afraid to fight back." But Meghan wasn't in the mood for banter. "I shouldn't have to fight to be heard," she shot back, her voice trembling with restrained anger. Then, in a moment that stunned the room, she stood abruptly, ripping off her microphone. "You went too far, George." "I'm done," she declared, her heels clicking as she stormed off the set, leaving a stunned silence in her wake. The cameras cut to a commercial break, George visibly rattled, as the audience erupted into a mix of cheers, boos, and frenzied whispers. Within minutes, the internet exploded, clips of the exchange going viral on X with hashtags like #MeghanWalksOut and #Backlash trending globally. Backstage, chaos reigned as producers scrambled to manage the fallout, their headsets buzzing with panic. Meghan, surrounded by her team in a green room, was visibly shaken but resolute, her phone buzzing with texts from Harry and close allies. "I came to talk about empowerment, not to be ambushed," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her hands. Her team urged her to see the walkout as a bold stand, but Meghan worried it would overshadow her foundation's mission. Outside, the audience was divided, some chanting her name in solidarity, others muttering about her diva behavior. Social media was a battlefield, with posts praising her for calling out biased questioning of Meghan's right. George was fishing for drama, while others slammed her as overly sensitive, unable to handle tough interviews. News outlets churned out headlines: Meghan Markle storms off GMA after tense clash. And Duchess drama, Meghan's explosive exit shocks viewers. The incident reignited debates about the media's treatment of Meghan, with supporters arguing she'd been baited into a trap, while critics claimed her reaction proved she couldn't handle scrutiny. 3. George Stephanopoulos, a veteran journalist used to navigating high-profile interviews, faced immediate backlash. In the production booth, his team debated how to address the incident when the show resumed, aware that the clash could tarnish his reputation for fairness. George had misjudged Meghan's tolerance, assuming she'd weather the tough questions as she had in past interviews, like her bombshell talk with Oprah, but the personal jab at her role in Harry's decisions had struck a nerve, and he knew it. When GMA returned from the break, George addressed the audience with a rare moment of contrition. "We had a spirited exchange with the Duchess, and I regret if it came across as unfair. Her work is important, and we wish her well." The crowd clapped politely, but the apology did little to quell the storm. On X, users dissected every moment, with some accusing George of gotcha journalism and others defending his right to ask hard questions. "Meghan knew what she signed up for," one post read, while another countered, "George crossed a line, and she called him out. Good for her." Behind the scenes, ABC executives were reportedly furious, fielding calls from Meghan's team and bracing for a potential ratings hit. Rumors swirled that George had been encouraged to push Meghan for viral sound bites, a claim the network denied. The clash became a cultural lightning rod, amplifying debates about Meghan's public image and the media's role in shaping it. Supporters argued that George's questions were rooted in misogynistic tropes, framing Meghan as a manipulative figure rather than a partner in a shared decision. "This is why she left the UK," one ex-user posted, garnering thousands of likes. "The media can't resist vilifying her." Critics, however, saw her walkout as proof of fragility, with one outlet sniping, "If Meghan wants to play in the public arena, she needs thicker skin." The incident also sparked speculation about its impact on her and Harry's brand, with some predicting it would rally their base, while others warned it could alienate mainstream audiences. In Montecito, Meghan and Harry regrouped, issuing a statement through Archewell that reaffirmed their commitment to authentic storytelling while sidestepping the specifics of the clash. Friends close to Meghan revealed she felt betrayed, having expected a platform to highlight her work, not a battleground. The walkout, though impulsive, was seen by her inner circle as a necessary line in the sand, a refusal to be reduced to a caricature. For Meghan, it was a reminder of the high stakes of her public life, where every word and gesture could be weaponized. In the days that followed, the GMA clash became a global talking point, dissected on talk shows, podcasts, and op-eds. Meghan's walkout was hailed by some as a powerful rejection of media bias, with fans on X calling it a queen moment that exposed the double standards she faced. "She stood up for herself, and that's strength," one supporter tweeted. Others, however, saw it as a miscalculation, arguing that her dramatic exit played into the narrative of her being difficult or overly sensitive. "She walked into a trap and gave them exactly what they wanted," a commentator noted on MSNBC. The incident fueled broader conversations about the challenges faced by women of color in the public eye, with some pointing to George's line of questioning as emblematic of systemic biases. Polls showed a polarized response, with younger audiences and women of color rallying behind Meghan, while others felt she'd overreacted to standard journalistic scrutiny. The royal family, predictably, remained silent, though sources hinted at private frustration over yet another public spectacle involving the Sussexes. For George Stephanopoulos, the fallout was a professional bruise. While some defended his journalistic rigor, others accused him of crossing into sensationalism, with one ex-post reading, "George thought he could bully Meghan for clicks, and she shut it down." GMA's ratings spiked initially, but the long-term impact was less clear, with some viewers vowing to boycott the show. George reportedly reached out to Meghan's team with a private apology, but no public reconciliation followed. Meanwhile, Meghan leaned into her work, using social media to promote Archie Ewell's initiatives, her posts carefully curated to focus on impact rather than drama. The clash also prompted soul-searching in the media industry, with some hosts reflecting on the fine line between tough questions and personal attacks. For Meghan, the incident was a stark reminder of the battle she faced to control her narrative, one she'd been fighting since her royal days. As the headlines faded, she and Harry doubled down on their mission, determined to rise above the noise. The world watched, divided as ever, but one thing was certain: Meghan's walkout had cemented her as a figure who refused to be silenced, no matter the cost.